Welcome to Forecasting with Friends, everyone. The weather is fine on this Wednesday. You know, things are pretty quiet. We're stuck in this weather pattern here in Southeast Texas. As you probably know, warm, mostly dry, a bit hazy. You know the deal. And it looks like we're going to be staying in this pattern for a little bit of time. There's not really a big front that's going to, clear through and sweep out all the haze and drop down temperatures, at least yet. And I'll have more details on that full forecast, coming up a little bit later in the show. But strap in. It's feeling like summer, even though fall officially will be here on Sunday. And coming up actually on Friday, we'll be doing a little segment on, fall foliage, when we could be seeing that, or what the timeline looks like really across the country, because maybe if it's not necessarily going to be here, you could go travel to see it. So something that we'll be looking forward to, and then obviously animals coming up a bit later in the show as well. But last night, did you stay up late and did you see it? There was a partial lunar eclipse, but not just that. It was a supermoon and it was a harvest moon. So talk about a trifecta. It was visible across North America. Now this in particular is a view from Venezuela. You can see it's pretty big, and that's what you get with a supermoon. It's the effect that the moon looks bigger and brighter. And yes, and then you can see the top 8% of that left-hand portion of the moon was covered a bit. That was the lunar eclipse for you. Sadly, this trifecta combo will not be happening again until 2023. Or 33 rather. So hopefully you got outside and saw it. My parents live in Michigan, and some of their friends were posting on social media, and you could see the orange tint on it. We're way down south, so folks north probably saw it. Maybe something a little bit better, but hey, that's a beautiful view. It's always one of those deals where I try to take a video of the moon and it turns out to be a little blurry blob in the sky. So you probably know what I'm saying. So thankfully this person from Venezuela was able to show that. Now I want to show you another image. This is the pipeline fire that we have been talking about all week long. It burned so bright that at one point it could be seen from space. No, this is not a drone. This is from space. The picture was taken by NASA astronaut Don Pettit from on board the ISS. Wow. And we have extended coverage on this, why it started burning, how long it could be, how that impacts folks living in the area. But the fact that folks from space, the ISS to be exact, were able to see this fire burn. That was likely at its peak a bit earlier this week. Maybe they can still see it now, but it's definitely died down a little bit. But just truly incredible video there. Now, early risers in Spokane, Washington were treated to a stunning aurora during a geomagnetic storm. Time-lapse footage from the National Weather Service shows a green streak of light in the sky. Oh, look how gorgeous that is. This was expected, and the National Weather Service has issued a geomagnetic storm alert. Now, I don't know if you remember, I believe it was June, if not May, we were actually able to see the northern lights right here in H-Town. All of the research that I've been doing is showing that the northern lights, maybe as far south as Alabama, don't think we'll necessarily be able to see it with this latest geomagnetic storm, but still so cool to see. And if you've never seen it, highly recommend. I think it's maybe a little bit difficult to plan a trip to see it unless you're going way up to like Iceland, Greenland, Alaska, but still such a cool sight to see. I just feel like it never gets old. Never, ever, ever. Well, speaking of space, an asteroid nicknamed the God of Chaos will be making a flyby near Earth in 2029. But what a difference 20 years makes. Back in 2004, an asteroid scientist said that it was one of the most hazardous objects that could impact Earth. Now, fast forward 20 years, and scientists now say there's nothing to worry about. Well, that's good, because that looks scary. And I guess, as the years go on, this is folks' jobs to get down to the nitty gritty. Could this impact Earth? Could it be a really big problem? But hey, I think we'll take it from them. Nothing to worry about. Okay, not too bad. Well, I do want to talk about earthquakes because it is ranked among the top 5 largest earthquakes in the history of Texas. We are talking about actually hearing from a resident in Austin who felt the 5.1 magnitude earthquake that hit 5 hours away near Midland. This was just earlier in the week. Our very own Tan Rafferty has the story.
I'm like looking at everything being like, this is real. This is not like a hallucination. Like, this is actually happening.
Monday night around 7:49 p.m., a ground-shaking 5.1 magnitude earthquake happened in Akerly near Midland, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The effects could be felt by residents living as far as North Austin.
I was just sitting on my bed watching TV. I was sitting upright. And that's like when I kind of started noticing something was happening. I started hearing something like I live in an apartment. I'm on the 3rd floor, so I have upstairs and downstairs neighbors. And I started hearing kind of like a knocking, which I was like, okay, that's one of the neighbors.
The confirmed earthquake, categorized as moderate, is ranked among the top 5 largest earthquakes in the history of Texas.
I realized my bed was rocking kind of back and forth. And I hear the knocking. I feel that. I'm like, hello, like, what's going on?
The USGS says they received more than 1,400 reports from Texans saying they felt the impact and shaking. Many people took to social media to express their concerns and to see if others were affected.
I know that that's not like super common here, but so it obviously caused a stir online.
Earthquakes considered as moderate are known to occur nearly 1,500 times a year and can cause property damage, according to the Fox 7 weather team.
So this was my first. And yeah, so it was only probably 10 or 15 seconds, but it was definitely enough to feel something.
It's just crazy that this gal and a lot of people on social media were in Austin. And like I mentioned before the package ran, that this was felt out near Midland. And that just shows the thing with earthquakes is you get no warning. It just happens. And wherever you are, you have to find that safe space. So, I mean, I lived in California for several years and we would always tell people, know where you're going to go if that happens. It's one of those things where it's almost like second nature. You know, you walk into a room and you're like, oh, I'm going to go under this desk because if something were to fall, you know, one of these big lights that we have overhead, at least my head would be protected. So, you know, definitely not common, but still something that we see. But the question that state lawmakers are trying to answer is what went wrong? They're trying to figure that out after February's Panhandle wildfires, which was the largest in Texas history. Now, those fires burned more than 1 million acres, killing 2 people and thousands of livestock. Hundreds of structures and properties were also damaged. The biggest fire began when a power pole blew over in the high winds. And a hearing in Austin just yesterday, the executive director of the Public Utility Commission brought up the need to improve pole standards and inspections. Also, better communications were discussed. So very, very important to note because, hey, things can get dry real quick. You remember last summer we didn't get much rain and we were in a drought. This summer, obviously, it's been a different story, but always something good to hope to improve for the future. Well, it is Wednesday, not just any Wednesday. It's a Wild Wednesday. And of course, you know, we love to share our animal stories here on Forecasting with Friends. So why don't we meet our new friend, Mr. Gary? He is a 6-banded armadillo.
All right, it is Wild Wednesday, and armadillos are known as a Texas icon.
Oh, yes, they are. But there are actually several species that are from far, far away, including Gary at the Houston Zoo. He's native to South Africa. Sarah Fern joins us live to introduce us to the cute little guy. And, you know, they're known as having that hard shell, but I see lots of cute little peach fuzz all over him, huh?
Isn't he adorable? Yes, this is the one, the only Gary, and he is the cutest armadillo that I've ever seen. He does have that cute little fuzz all around him, and that is to, you know, help him to feel what's around him. armadillos don't have the best eyesight, so they depend on those little hairs. They also depend on their great sense of smell. And I don't know, if you guys are quiet enough, you might get to hear that sniffer, because boy, does he make loud sniffing sounds. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world.
How is he different?
Right now, he's looking for...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yes. No, I was going to say right now he is sniffing around. He is looking for delicious bugs to eat. In the wild, these guys eat a lot of termites and ants. Here at the Houston Zoo, he gets a fun diet of crickets and, you know, an insectivore pellet and all kinds of fun veggies and fruits. So he is rooting around looking for some fun treats to eat. So we're going to see if we can get him to come over to one of his enrichment items. It helps him to kind of use his problem-solving skills to figure out how to get the food. And you can also see him using that really cute tail to help him balance when he gets up there, his little feet are off the ground. He's just the cutest, isn't he?
I didn't know I needed an armadillo chin-up in my life today. I need that every day.
How is he different? I mean, I know we see armadillos here in Texas. How is he different coming from South Africa?
Yeah, these guys, so he is a 6-banded armadillo. Armadillos are only found in the Americas. We have the 9-banded that is just here in the United States. So it's the only armadillo we have here. But these guys, you can find them in places like Brazil, Argentina, and they are just incredible armadillos. They range, there's 20 different species that range in size from the pink fairy armadillo, which is super cute. They're about 4 inches, to the giant armadillo that lives in the South American Pantanal, and they can get to almost 100 pounds. So they are just incredible and very important animals. They are ecosystem engineers. So they dig these huge burrows, some 5 feet deep, and lots of animals will use those burrows to, you know, keep cool and to feel safe.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for showing him to him. I'm absolutely in love with him from head to tail. We got to see every angle. He's just cute all the way around. Thanks for that.
Oh, my goodness. How cute is Gary? He's like, give me my treats, give me my treats. I don't know if they'd be good pets, but maybe my little rabbit would like to hang out with them. Well, of course, we have an animal story for you. But coming up, I want to dig into the tropics because they're still active at this time and we could be seeing more development next week. So make sure you stick with us after the break. Welcome back to Forecasting with Friends. I talked about the tropics and let's dig into it. So we are monitoring 2 areas with the potential for development. Now, if you remember, we had Tropical Storm Gordon form last week in the Atlantic. Well, that orange area of interest that's shaded on the right-hand side of your screen, that is what is now the remnants of Gordon that actually could reform. So the good news is it looks like that's going to stay out to sea, not impacting a landmass. And actually, Gordon is the only named storm so far this year that has not impacted a landmass, meaning it's just stayed out to sea. And normally we see a bunch of those. But let's skirt over to the left a little bit. This area that's shaded in yellow has a low chance for development over the next week, but it's still a chance. And I've been watching all the latest forecast model runs, and there's a lot of runs saying that something is likely to form. It's just the when and where that is still has the big question mark after it. What we know, an area of low pressure could form in that area that is actually shaded in yellow right there. Slow development, i.e. strengthening, is going to be possible through early next week. But we're looking at some steering patterns, and it depends on what's happening over the United States. Is this going to move up? But also what's happening over Central America. And there's something called a Central American gyre, which is a sprawling area of low pressure near or over Central America. It produces a lot of heavy rain, rough surf, and it can also help aid in formation of tropical cyclones. So that's what we are looking out for. Now, I do want to let you know, this is a look at our GFS modeling, and it's going to zoom back into that area. Again, Friday into Saturday, could be seeing something just off Central America and then moving up to the north. Some of the big models that we look at, i.e. the GFS, the Icon, it's showing kind of a skirt into the southern Gulf between the Yucatan and Cuba there, sometime early next week. Now, it really just depends. Is this system going to potentially form quickly? Is it going to be a little bit slower? Is it going to have more time to strengthen, less time? You know, there's so many question marks that I had just mentioned that we can't really decide exactly where this is going to be and when, but it's just one of those deals saying, hey, something is likely to form. Don't let your guard down, no matter where you are across the Gulf Coast. We are going to be watching this for you very, very closely. And if it does become a named storm, Helene would be next on the list. Then we would have Isaac, Joyce, and Kirk. But really, it's this one spot besides the remnants of Gordon that we will be watching over the next week. Now, I want to talk about where we could be seeing formation, which is likely over the last, 20, 30 years in September. Well, seen stuff in the central Atlantic, but this is really going to be centered northwestern Caribbean Sea and then potentially moving into the Gulf. That's for September. Where is the likelihood for formation of storms in October? It's that northwestern Gulf and then kind of skirting over Florida and then into the western Atlantic. So it's interesting that if this were to slow down, that it could be maybe a little bit closer to October. But it's kind of that spot where we see one of those flags flying right over the Yucatan or near it and Cuba that we are going to need to keep a close eye out for. And just a friendly reminder, the waters are warm in the Gulf. So if something were to move over there, that could aid in some strengthening. So that's why we just want you to know that we are still close to the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. We are right about there. And even though we've only had 7 named storms so far this season, it has been an impactful one. So don't let your guard down. That's what we're trying to say. We just want everybody to stay alert, stay weather aware, because you just never know what could happen. So I do want to get you out to a hurricane, so a Sullivan Smart Sense. We're at the peak of the season, like we mentioned, and it's a great time to make sure that you are prepared for any emergency. But budgets are tight for many families. We all know this. So consumer reporter Heather Sullivan and meteorologist John Dawson have teamed up to help you prepare for a disaster without wiping out your wallet.
All right, welcome to the Hurricane Gear Test, or maybe it's a Sullivan Smart Sense. Either way, we're going to be fun talking about hurricane preparedness, which is what I'm always excited about, and you always like to talk about saving some money.
Yeah, we've all been through Beryl. We know what it is now to go without power, but, budgets are so tight. So we want to help you get ready for a lot less money.
And we're going to focus on the 5 categories that I always talk about when getting ready for hurricanes. They're kind of a short list, but they can really kind of dive in deep. It's going to start with food and water. You're going to need a good light source like a flashlight or a lantern. Everyone has power needs. The minimum for everybody is going to be a phone charger, but some of us need even more than that. And then a first aid kit.
Yeah, and let's dive into it, because right now everybody's buzzing, you know, about these ultimate apocalypse dinner kits that you can get at Costco and other places. This one in particular, ReadyWise, has 150 different servings of freeze-dried food. Sells for about $100. You can get it right now at Costco for about $80. But I also wanted to show you, let's just do a little grocery shopping in case you don't want to have to add, you have to add a lot of water to those things.
Sure, yeah. Water is definitely going to be a big focus when you're dealing with dehydrated food. I like the idea of just stocking up on some of these more traditional non-perishable items.
Yeah, so what I did was I went shopping for a family of 4 for 3 days, and for the non-perishable essentials, I spent about $57. And then right before the storm, you can still go to the store again and get some perishables that will last a few days. We're talking about apples, oranges, cucumbers, tomatoes, things that can sit out. I spent another $18, some bread, but so $75 got me through 3 days.
Yeah, and remember, don't be the last one in line at the store though, because those perishable items are also going to kind of thin out pretty quick. But you did a great job on your shopping there, and then you got a few other things here on a budget. I like the lights that you got, because you've got a lot of them here, and the batteries are included. and it was pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, the batteries are in there. It was about $12. Gives you multiple lights you can set out around the house or use as you need.
All right, and then next up was the phone charger. This is a very economical way to get it done. You lose some of the convenience, but again, you're just going to have to figure out how to make it work when we have disaster.
Right. If your car is working, you can charge your phone in the car. So these things run about $6 to $30, or you can buy an emergency cell phone charger for as low as $8 on up to about $100.
All right, and the last thing on the list was a first aid kit. I always encourage you to look for one that has scissors inside of it because it has a lot of other uses besides just medical needs when you have a disaster. And I also like first aid kits that have a cold compress. So I'm impressed that you found one, Heather, that has that.
Right. Break it and it turns cold.
It's an instant ice pack.
How cool is that?
Totally.
All right. We're ready. We're ready for any emergency
I think
here.
So.
We've got a full list of all of these ideas for you on Fox26Houston.com. With Sullivan Smart Sense, I'm Heather Sullivan.
And if you want to look for my hurricane gear test, make sure and go to YouTube and search for meteorologist John Dawson.
Hello, friends. We are at our forecasting segment of Forecasting with Friends. Want to take you out live right now. Sun up, shining. And that means temperatures are warming. Okay, not even 12 o'clock yet. And we are already in the widespread mid to upper 80s. 86 degrees in Huntsville, 89 out at Bush, 88 in Cleveland, 85 in College Station, 90 it looks like the lone spot in Katy right now, and then mid to upper 80s from LaPorte to Pearland and Galveston. So with that being said, you know it's going to be a warm day. Temperatures in Atascocita will be up to the low, if not mid-90s by 5 p.m. Huntsville, 95. And honestly, wouldn't be surprised if you guys actually reach a high of about 96 today. With mostly clear skies, really nothing's going to stop those temperatures from soaring. There's a ton of dry air overhead, so that's really going to limit our rain chances, not just today, but through the next several. I will say we're not totally going to rule it out. So the latest forecast models showing 5, 6, 7 o'clock tonight could be seeing a few isolated showers, mainly through Houston, and then points out to the west right along the I-10 corridor. They don't last long. It clears through pretty quickly. Then it's going to be a rinse and repeat as we head throughout the day tomorrow, but even lower rain coverage is expected. So nothing really going to clear out the bad air quality that we've been seeing or to cool us down. It would just be very limited overall. And that trend does continue as we head through your weather weekend. Looking longer term, though, our rain chances look slim to none through the extended forecast. We're talking the next 6 to 10 days. But take a look at temperatures across the lower 48. Everyone's likely going to be at or just above average for this time of year through that extended period. So yes, fall is on the horizon. Coming up on Sunday, for us, not necessarily going to be feeling like it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you at noon and then again tomorrow for another round of Forecasting with Friends.